You're listening to the Flex Success podcast, where we teach you how to be less shit.
I'm your co-host Lizzy, and this is Dean. We'll be covering all topics relating to health, fitness, and bodybuilding.
Join us as we use our in the trenches experience and up-to-date science to provide you with information that you can actually use.
If you like what we do, be sure to give us a like, follow, share, and tag us on social media.
Welcome back to the Flex Success podcast, everybody. I'm joined with my co-host, Lizzy.
Hello.
And today we are joined by Mr. Kyl Raggio, as the Australians would say it. But how do people say it if they want to say your last name properly?
That was actually pretty good, Raggio. I think so many people bungle it, so you nailed it.
Is it Italian?
Originally, yes, a long tapestry of Spanish, Italian, in my family. So yes.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, he's Spanish, Italian, but got an English passport. Has Spanish-speaking grandparents, right? But
Australian accent.
But they didn't live in Spain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Dean, please tell us who Kyl is to you and why we invited him.
Well, first of all, is it even Kyl or is it Kyl? Nobody knows.
It's definitely not Kyl.
Well, I mean, his name is spelled K-Y-L.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not Kyl. But okay.
Anyway, Kyl. Who are you? Mate, Kyl's a wonderful client of mine.
Okay.
It's been a client of mine now for quite some time. I don't know the exact amount of weeks, actually. I should have checked this.
Approximately
80.
Yeah.
80 years.
I think it's like 78 weeks. 78 weeks is a number that comes to my head for some reason.
Okay.
And Kyl was not fortunate enough, but earned his pro card just recently in Season A Australia for I4B Classic.
And was that your second season together?
First.
Oh, your first competitive
One
season.
and done, baby.
Shit. So you guys did like a year and a half of a growth season, one awesome season, pro card.
Yep.
Bob's your uncle.
Be straightforward, right? It's that easy.
For anybody listening, if you'd like this adventure, this is what we do here at Flex.
Flex Success now offers a pathway to pro card.
You know what? That's a nice program name.
It is.
Yeah,
Pathway to pro card. Thank you very much. 5%.
There you go. I'll wait for my check in the mail, please.
So yeah, we had our first season together. We had an incredibly successful season. Kyl first competed in New South Wales, took out his class there, then took out the overall. Is originally from there, so it was kind of cool to do.
Mad.
And then down to nationals, took out his class again, and then took out the overall against another Flex client, Matt Gall, which was super cool. We had a double Flex competition going on there, which was fun for me because it was win-win no matter what.
So congratulations, that's a huge deal. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Pro card in general, or the last 2 years?
About the pro card experience.
Like to sum it up without going into too much emotion, I guess I'll probably start crying like I did on stage, like a big baby.
We're okay with crying.
You've got a really thick beard, so it's super masculine.
You can't see it through my glasses anyway. It was kind of surreal in the sense that it's been a lifelong objective achieved, and I feel like that's a really weird thing to have happen when you set these like crazy, or not even crazy, but you set these huge goals for yourself, right? If your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough. And I think it was one of those goals that I was like, man, that would be really cool to have happen. And like, if it ever happens, man, that would be unreal. And then when it happened, because it's so quick on a show day, you're on stage, you win, back, next class, you're on stage for the overall, here's your card, you won, awesome. And it was like, oh shit, that just happened. And then getting off stage, it was kind of like holding this massive trophy and a pro card, and people are high-fiving and saying hello. And I was like, did this just happen? Okay, what do I do now? And I'm trying to find Gabby, and like I was like, fuck, what do I do? So it was pretty surreal to kind of sum it all up.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like nothing has actually changed by winning, except that it absolutely has changed. Like I think because like that pathway to professionalism in bodybuilding is literally like you said. There's a moment you're an amateur, and then there's a moment like later that you're a pro. Whereas like if you're coming up in football teams and that, there's like this period of like you need to essentially be chosen, and then you train as an amateur into a pro, and then you maybe get a go on the bench for 5 minutes. But as a pro bodybuilder, you're now just like thrust into the season tomorrow. or in 4 days.
Actually, yeah.
Which
So
is exactly
go on.
in a couple of days. Now, just to go back on that point that Dean just brought up, and it was literally what I wanted to bring up on this podcast after I saw the questions was nothing's changed, but everything's changed. So it was like everything that I had done to get me to that point doesn't change, but I'm now a professional athlete. So everything's changed. So it's so weird, just like from a mindset perspective, to be like, cool, I do all the same things, but now the outcome is totally different. And I'm starting at the bottom as an absolute rookie in the pro circuit now.
Does that put any fear in you, or how does that make you feel? Like you're kind of like going from, if you're in grade 6, you're the oldest in primary school, and then next year you're the youngest in high school, and it can be a bit intimidating. Is that kind of how you're feeling about this?
Total opposite. Like,
okay.
Gabby and I were talking about this yesterday because we've got a massive commute each day to go to the gym and just, shit and talk about everything. And she was like, how are you feeling about doing the pro show? Are you nervous? Are you like excited? And I was like, do you know what? I think there was self-imposed pressure, but also external pressure leading up to the pro qualifier because it was like, man, I want this thing. I've done the work. Like I've put all the systems in place for the pressure is there to do the thing and to get the result. Where now I got the thing and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I have no expectations now. We're turning up to this pro show against guys that have competed at the Olympia that are top dogs. I'm like the little kid that's like, bro, I'm just excited to be here.
That's great. That's awesome.
I actually think I said this to you the other day, Liz, that I think it's so actually very quickly for people that aren't aware too. So Kyl turned pro just over 4 weeks ago now, 27th of just under. And the very next day, he flew from Melbourne to the UK, and he's now living in the UK unofficially, at least officially for the next 6 months. And it was like, a 24-hour turn. Hey, dude, like get on the plane. I'll see you when you arrive in the UK. I'll see you virtually, and we'll just discuss what's next.
Yeah.
And then I kind of was like, I remember having a conversation with those in Turkey. I was like, man, there's a show in Ireland when you arrive. There's a show in Hungary when you arrive. There's a show in Poland when you arrive.
Europe is next level.
And he's a classic bodybuilder. So there's a show every weekend.
Yeah.
And we kind of said like, look, I said to him, do you want to give yourself the greatest opportunity to do very well in your pro debut and put all of this pressure on like the progress for the next 12 months, 18 months? You lose a little bit of the excitement of turning pro. Or do you just want to like have at it and just go jump into a pro show and just see how you fare? And he's like, dude, I'm riding the wave. You know? And I think that has probably got a lot to do with this weekend coming up too, because now he's going to compete in Poland, like a one and done. And it's like, just go and see. There is no pressure. There's no expectations. You haven't had time to like grow beyond your weight cap because Kyl was pretty much at the top of his amateur weight cap as well. So like, if he hadn't got the pro card there, it would have been even increasingly more difficult to get it in Australia because he would have constantly having to be almost like holding back from progress. Whereas now he's got room to do that again in the pro ranks, but he's got time. So
I love that.
Wait, do we have room? I don't know if we have room.
Well, we'll soon find out this weekend. He says it because in Australia he was like on the limit, and he scraped in at the height that he scraped in at, and that gave him like a really nice limit for his weight. The next one down for the pro show is only 1 kilo above that. So like he really doesn't have a lot more if he's like getting heighted short. But if he gets heighted at the same height that he was in Australia, then he's going to have 3 or 4 kilos.
Can I just say how frustrating that you get heighted differently, like the scales are always off. Like sort that out, guys. Sort that out.
I think they might be doing it. There was talks of doing like once you reapply for your pro card every year, that's your height. So it's like on your pro card. Because like especially doing all the amateur shows over the last couple of years, man, like even for the first show in Sydney, there was proper calibrated scales outside the weigh-in room on a hard floor. And I jumped on the scales and I was like 1.5 kilos over. I was like, shit. Went to the bathroom, took all my clothes off. I didn't have any water, food, like nothing, trying to make weight. And then I got on the scales in the check-in. There were some $5 Kmart digital scales on carpet. And I stood on the scales and I was like 2 kilos under the cap. So I was like, come on, there has to be some sort of like consistency.
There's no regulation. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. He is right though. For the pros, I think you have to do 2 with a particular group of head judges now. And then once you've got those 2, it might even be 3, then they height you.
I see.
once you'll get that done, it'll be good. So it won't be this season, but it'll be, the next time around, whenever that may be.
So, listeners, you probably heard us say that Kyl's Pro Show is coming up in Poland. We're actually going to Poland with him. Well, we're coming from Berlin because we're living in Germany right now. You're in London, but we're going to meet you there. We're staying there for what, 4 nights, 5 nights?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I'm super pumped because I've never met you in person. Have you met Kyl in person?
Yes, I have.
Oh, okay. When you went
We
to
had a
Australia last
sleepover.
year.
He did. Kyle slept on my couch in Melbourne
Ah, right. Okay. Right.
for a night.
I'm
anyway.
connecting the dots. I remember you said someone did. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Poland's going to be awesome.
I'm so excited for Poland. We're like, Gabby's been like pinning all the gyms that we're going to go to, all the food places. She's been like, do you reckon Dean and Lizzy have seen this burger place and this brisket place? I was like, send it to them.
And so what are your post-show dinner desires?
Dean asked me this the other day. Like, I think I've built such a mindset or an approach to the way I do things that I'm not phased by it. Like, I don't really care, and I don't have these like, oh my God, I'm going to go for this and I really want to eat this, because I enjoy the process so much. I enjoy the bodybuilding side of it, that I don't really care. I think it's more the excitement that I get to go and share a meal with my beautiful fiance, that you guys are going to be there and we're going to have an awesome experience. And whatever we decide to eat is cool as well. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it.
Was it always like this for you, or is it something that you said that you've just built in this behavior?
Like, I think, to put it in perspective, right? I think I've done like 8 or 10 shows over my career so far. And I think early on, certainly it was like, oh my God, there's 13 days till the show's over and I can go and eat whatever I want. And I'd be counting down the seconds till, the show was over. But I think you learn from your mistakes and you get better, and you develop that sort of mental fortitude, in the sense that, man, the reward is in the journey and throughout the progress of the contest prep, that you kind of steer away from the silly things post show. And it's just like, exactly as we said about going from amateur to pro, there's not like this massive thing where it's like, oh, I've finished prep now, it's all over, I can have no restraint. It's like, no, my whole life is built around doing this thing. There's periods of flexibility that I will build into that once I'm not competing. But at the end of the day, nothing changes for me. It's like, I'm excited to finish on Sunday night and be like, cool, I get to eat more oats now. I can have cream of rice once a day. I can eat more more rice or whatever it might be, but do the same things.
Yeah. You're just physically recovering.
That's it.
Yeah, that's super cool. Right.
Yeah. Bodybuilding is yeah. If you're lucky enough, I think, to not be dropped into the hot coals of the fire that is bodybuilding in the early stages of your like bodybuilding career, where you're not like so food focused and you become more process focused and whatnot, I think it goes a long way in improving that person's outcome long term, that's for sure. So
I'm curious to know how, because you said you competed 8 times before. I imagine that's over like, I don't know, 4 different seasons. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, over a pretty long period of time. Like, I had some time off and I was doing powerlifting and bodybuilding interchangeably. So yeah.
Okay. So with this season that just passed, clearly a lot of success. What was different this time round? Like, why the pro card now and not before Dean?
Definitely Dean was a major part of that.
So you set him up so well.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, it was perfect. Podcast.
My coach was really good and he helped me a lot. No, I'm joking. No, look, I think I'm such a huge advocate, right? Like, I'm an online coach. I coach other competitors, and people are like, oh, why do you have a coach? I'm like, because it's an invaluable resource to leverage someone else's knowledge and expertise who is kind of, got the thing that I want, right? Like, Dean, for argument's sake, is probably one of the most successful coaches in terms of getting pro cards or coaching pro athletes in our circle of coaches. So why would I not leverage that to some capacity to get the result that I want? Like, that would just be silly if I didn't.
So you're using Dean, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely using Dean for everything that he has to offer.
Okay.
But like, I think it would be naive to think that that's not a huge part of it. And then I think outside of that, as an athlete, I really spend a lot of time, I guess, trying to live up to the expectation that I assume Dean has, and the level of execution that he would expect from his clients, and then seeing the success that he has with his clients. It's like, why would I not want to live up to that? And why would I not hold myself to that standard? to achieve the result that those people have gotten. Like, that's as simple as it is.
So the standard's different this time round. Like, you did more. Is that what I'm getting?
I think it was a case of doing more of the right things consistently enough. So it was really like, even for me, right? Like, I'm such a freak when it comes to obsessing over the small details and doing every minute thing that I can. But it was even a case during, the last 18 months with Dean, is I even turned it up a notch. It was like everything is measured to the gram. There's not a single day that I missed a step or a rep or a, load progression or a piece of food or whatever it might be. So it was any little 1% that I could turn on that dial, I did it. There was no like, yeah, it doesn't matter, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh, I missed it by a couple hundred calories. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I actually think it's an important note to make, because like Kyl did come to me as an already pretty well established coach, and then also like amateur bodybuilder. He'd been competing for a fair few years. He already had most of the things in play. It was just a matter of like refining the process, I think. And like you said, just dialing things up a little bit. And I don't think it is any coincidence that all of my guys that have turned pro are the guys that seemingly just do the things and are also less focused on the outcome and more focused on doing what is necessary for the outcome to be achieved.
Yeah. Yeah, like it sounds to me as though all your amateurs who have turned pro acted like pros first.
100%. Yeah.
That is the big thing. That, like, you cannot become a pro without having the systems, the mindset, in place already, that it's just the next logical progression. It's not like, oh, I'm going to become a pro. It's, no, I'm going to act like one. And then it's not a matter of if, but simply when it happens.
Yeah.
And that's how
you know what? I think we can probably take this lesson and apply it to probably every aspect of our lives. Like, I want a good relationship, so I'm going to act like a good partner. I want good finances, so I'm going to act like somebody that's responsible with their finances, and it will eventually happen.
That's why I pretend to be a chef.
Oh, mate, this guy, I don't know what cooking facilities we're going to have in Poland, but last night he made the most epic dinner. He is a chef.
I made a barbecue pulled pork pie with apple and raisins.
It was so good.
Oh,
I know.
It was so good.
I know.
I'm keen for food for the next 5 days then. It's going to be unreal.
Yeah.
And like, Liz, like, what can we pack to bring here? What are the cooking facilities anyway?
So, Kyl, I see that you are really good at just getting the job done. I'd like to know, though, do you think you could have done anything better in this prep, in this last 18 months with Dean?
There's always room for improvement. I think that's the exciting part for me. And that's probably looking at this progression from amateur to pro, now to pro. And, I've set goals that scare you, right? My lifelong objective was to step on the Mr. Olympia stage. That's my long-term goal. So I think in terms of how I approach this next phase, it's literally doing an audit of the last 18 months and saying, yeah, where could I go better? What could I do in order to make this next thing happen now? And I think it really just becomes laser focused every single time you have those goals, is what systems, what processes, what things can we audit to make better? And there's always room for improvement. And I think that's the exciting part with bodybuilding. It's the pursuit of progress rather than perfection.
And if you did have to criticize yourself and say, this is one thing where there's room for improvement, what might that be?
Put me on the spot now.
Not being so perfect all the
time. Yeah, I mean, probably like on a personal level, I think Dean has been really helpful in letting me kind of let go of the restraints a little bit. So as in not being so overly anal about everything and like kind of putting my trust and my faith in him and being like, all right, cool. He obviously knows what he's doing. He knows that this is going to be good for me. I'll just shut up and take my medicine. Like, I think that's more a case of letting go a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. And I think like being anal is clearly helpful in some aspects, but when and doing that though, you have to expend energy on that. And if we're expending energy on weighing lettuce when really we can probably eyeball it, like that's not a very productive use of energy. So like, I love the attitude of like, this stuff matters and I'm going to do everything to the gram, but knowing like like having a coach that can help direct that energy to the right places, I think is where the magic happens.
Yeah. And like I'm one of those freaks that would be like, oh, Dean didn't say that I could have a Coke Zero, so I'm not going to have a Coke Zero, even though it's like 1 calorie or something like that.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, just in those weird instances where like I think we went out for dinner one night, uh, and all the boys had a Coke Zero and I had water. And I think one of them asked me like, oh, like, why don't you have a Coke? And I was like, oh, Dean, it's not in my plan. Like, Dean, and you're like, bro, relax, it's fine. Like, if you want to have a Coke Zero, have a fucking Coke Zero.
You could even have some mustard if you'd like.
Right. Okay. So learning where to like take a breath is maybe the area of improvement for you.
I think for me, I have no gray area. It's like it's on or off and pick one, and it's usually on. So
okay, right. And how does that? I sorry, I hope this isn't too much of a personal question for a public podcast. Gabby seems to be very supportive of you and your goals. Do you find that the lifestyle of like such ambitious goals is something that works for the both of you, or are you going to need like an off season to, I don't know, like have some wiggle room for that?
yeah. Oh, look, I would not be in the position. I've said this a million times without her by my side. Like it just wouldn't happen. She's my absolute rock and my support system. I know that my goals, my ambitions do get the better of me a lot of the time. And it's really like a case of exactly as you said, becoming a good partner. You kind of need to be a good partner. So I know that during prep phases and during all of this chaos, less of a good partner in that sense, just because this takes up so much of my time.
Yeah.
But I think a big part of that is self-awareness. And that was a big reason why we chose to move and kind of do all this cool stuff so that we could set up our life post-show. And we've already started planning that. Like I said to her, like once the show's done, once Poland's over, we're planning to see a bunch of London. My mum's actually flying over. We're going to meet her in Spain or I think Italy or something at this stage. We're going to spend a couple of months floating around Europe and just enjoying, the other side of contest prep. So I think it has its seasons, it has its phases, and I know that by doing that thing initially, I need to kind of make up for it somewhere else and make her my priority now and make our life together the priority.
Okay. Mature of you to acknowledge that. I think a lot of people put it on the other person as if like they're being needy or something like that. And maybe they don't even realize the prepper themselves that maybe there is some free time, but you're emotionally unavailable because you're so exhausted. And I think when you're the tired person, you're irritated, aren't you? You're like, because you're so hungry all the time and you're so focused on this and that. It's sometimes easier to blame externals than it is to accept that.
Again, back to that self-awareness thing too. I think previously, like we've been together going on 8 years, right? So you learn to communicate better. You learn to, to do things together in a better way the more you practice. And I think during this prep, it was really a case of me being like, at some point, yeah, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm irritated, whatever. And something will happen. I'll be like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm being an absolute dick today. Like, I'm just really, really hungry. I'm really tired. Like, I'm zapped today. And I think even for her, she's on the other side of the coin, been like in the position to tell me that I'm being a dick or, hey, you're being fucking rude. I'm going to go over here now and leave you alone because I'm angry at you. And I'm like, yeah, fair. Okay.
Okay. You guys have worked it out.
Oh, yeah. We got it sorted.
I actually think this is a good thing for people to realize, though, is that you've got someone like Kyl who's saying, I am a guy who does everything to the T. I dot my I's, across my T's. I don't miss. And honestly, man, I can't sit here and think that I remember a week where you kind of ever said, hey, dude, I kind of fucked up this week. Or, oh, hey, dude, I just didn't feel like this week.
Yeah.
So you have somebody who's like really, really, really honed in on the process, but also recognizes that in the next phase that isn't prep, there is room for flexibility. Flexibility might be that instead of training the same 5 days of the week, you just train an average of 5 days over 7 days a week. Same amount of training sessions, just slight flexibility. It might be that we have 1 meal or 2 meals out where there's some estimation involved, And the point is that, that I'm getting at is that people that I think that are too dialed in all the time don't realize actually how much that stress plays on them and diminishes their results as well. Because if you're constantly worried about being the best bodybuilder and thinking that these little things make massive differences, the stress associated with that, I think, actually starts to reduce people's results versus those that seemingly can find comfort in flexibility in their off seasons and even a little bit in the prep. The people that are like, yeah, it's all good. I understand that this is not going to have a big effect. Always get the better results, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I suppose if you're way too anal about literally everything and then you don't make room for relationships or stress management, like that's going to come with consequences as well. And like, okay, like perhaps that will lead to a really great result, but you'll be miserable because you'll have no friends.
Well, but even this, right? Let's just say you take a partner and you are just say I'm a selfish asshole, right? And you're like, you know what? Fuck you. This is my goal. Like, either put up or shut up.
Shit. This is the clip that I'm gonna snippet from the show. I'm an asshole.
Yeah,
that's it. No context. Just Dean.
This idea of that, like, I'm the most important person. If you think that having that attitude towards a partner who sticks around and then like grovels at your feet and does everything is actually advantageous for your mindset, I think you're like lying to yourself as well.
Or a narcissist.
Yeah, or you're that.
Yeah.
Really.
Tall and a narcissist.
So you are from the Gold Coast and you moved to Melbourne and we
moved momentarily back to Sydney.
Did
the show, won the show
in Melbourne, and then moved to London. And so all of this is during prep. You're still, I guess, in prep because in 3 days' time or 4 days' time, you have your pro debut. By the time this podcast gets released, by the way, the pro debut would have been yesterday. But anyways, so all of this is during prep. I'd like to know, as somebody who does dot their I's and cross their T's, not crosses their I's and dots their T's, how have you managed all of that while moving?
Let me rewind and I'll give you some more context.
Okay.
The first season prior to starting with Dean, so I grew up in the central coast of New South Wales, moved to Sydney and lived in Sydney my whole life. We moved to the Gold Coast from Sydney in my peak week for the previous season before starting with Dean. Then for this one, we moved from the Gold Coast to my mum's place in New South Wales, like 2 weeks before the Sydney show, won that show, won the overall, went to Melbourne, did the pro qualifier, won that show, and literally got on a plane the next morning. So like, we were joking about it even before the show because we saw the trophies, right? The big trophies in the pro card. And I was like, oh, imagine when I get the big trophy. What am I going to do with that? Ha ha ha. I can't take that on the plane. Got it. And then went, fuck, this thing weighs like 10 kilos. What the fuck am I going to do with it?
The coolest trophy, man. He picked the best year to turn pro.
Yeah.
The maddest trophies. And then he catfished Gabby and said, hey, now we're moving to the UK. And I'm still prepping for the next month.
Yeah. But it was so funny because my stepdad, ironically, he's got a caravan. He's driving around Australia and he was in Adelaide. He said, I'm going to come watch the show. And he was leaving to go back home the next day. He said, oh, I'll take your trophy and your pro card back home in the car. I was like, oh my God, fate. This is perfect.
Imagine if he wasn't there to do that.
Screwed. So it worked out perfect.
So that's your secret. Always move states or countries during or just after a show.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah, like it's funny to go back to your question, right? Like, how the hell do you manage to do it all? Like, we literally got off stage, packed our bags that night. I spoke to Dean. We woke up in the morning, got on a plane, and went to 28 hours of travel and got here and continued to prep. I'm such a firm believer that doing stuff and staying busy is a really great way to get through prep. And I'm always so much more productive when I'm on prep because I'm just trying to stay a little bit distracted. And I think it just kind of keeps me occupied rather than if I was just, working a normal job and sitting at a desk and be like, fuck, I'm hungry. Fuck, I'm tired.
Yeah. I hear this a lot, actually. Dean feels the same way, that he was super productive on his preps too.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think like, you are. You're so goal driven, and you're also aware that you have limited amounts of energy that you want to pour into different things. I mean, I think just because you're so motivated, just generally speaking, that pours over into the rest of your personal and professional life.
I think that's been the underlying theme of everything that I've done is I'm having way too much fun. It doesn't feel like work, so it's just like, the more I do, the more I get back and the more fun I have. So it's like, bro, this is a winning formula. Why would I ever stop and why would I ever be upset about anything?
Yeah. And
man, if only more people enjoyed the process like this and had so much fun, because I think a lot of people, maybe they're good at bodybuilding, maybe there's elements that they enjoy, perhaps those elements are getting likes on Instagram, but they fucking like, they grind and they get to stage day and they're anxious and they're irritated with the result. Like, why are you doing this? So like, please take a page out of Kyl's book, because I think like no one's putting a gun to your head and forcing you to do it. So unless it's like, of course there's elements that suck, but unless it's something that overwhelmingly brings you meaning or joy to your life, like, I don't know, go take up knitting.
Like, why are you doing this if it's not fun?
Yeah.
Like a couple of clients, they get to that back end and they just start to shit the bed, right? Like they just start to freak out about whether or not they're going to be ready or not, or whether or not they're going to be full enough.
But that's your job to freak out about that.
Yeah, right. And then they're just like, it just starts to unravel. And you're like, if you could just breathe and realize that this is actually enjoyable if you so choose for it to be, just like, woosah, man. Like, please just relax. Man, otherwise,
yeah. Well, like I honestly, like I think if you spoke to anyone in any capacity at the highest level, they would probably tell you that everything they do just feels like fun and play, and it just flows. And that's kind of what it's been. It hasn't been any point over the last 2 years where I've been like, fuck, this is a battle, man. I hate this. I'm really not enjoying it. Every day has just been like, I'm just in a state of just pure fun, flow, joy, that it's just kind of every day is a new exciting thing that I'm just like, what's next? What are we doing now? Like, that's why doing the pro show was such a cool thing, because I was like, on what fucking planet do you get the opportunity to do this and have fun and like it be the coolest thing ever? Let's go, man.
Yeah. I think poor decisions are made as well when you're in a negative mindset, and when there's anxiety and fear and things like that.
Self-sabotage makes it worse.
Yeah. Well, you just can't, you're just not in a position to make objective decisions when you're like that. I mean, ask anyone who's ever done any sort of MMA or fighting. Like, when fear hits you, from my like 3 minutes of jiu-jitsu experience, when fear hits you, you're going to make the shittest decisions and you're going to expend energy on things that actually take you backwards. You need to stay cool, calm, and collected to like just be there to do the next best thing.
Yeah, you become a really inefficient energy burner in that you burn more than you should, which means you have a higher risk of muscle loss. You have a reduced capacity to load carbohydrates in peak week if you're freaking out as well, because you're going to burn through energy. There's a whole host of things that will make your physique look worse.
Bloating, fluid retention,
poor sleep, and then that exacerbates that and just gets worse and worse and worse, you know.
But is this like telling someone who's angry not to be angry? Like someone who's stressed out, just don't be stressed out. Like, so clearly it's easier said than done, but like find some strategies, I suppose, is the message here. Dean, I have a question for you. When you are coaching somebody who is like, oh, you know, I just want to give bodybuilding a go. I don't think that I'm genetically gifted, but like, I just really love the sport. And then there's somebody like Kyl, for example, who has what it takes, and you think that he really can get a pro card and that's his ambition as well. Is there a lot more pressure, or like, how does it change how you coach?
So 3 examples of this that I'll use for no pressure: Kyl, Cam George, Tom Stanley.
Oh, okay.
All right. So they're 3 clients that I've helped turn pro in the last 3.5 years. Every one of them did the thing and didn't talk about the thing. So there wasn't really any pressure for the end result, as much as it was just the 4 of us in this instance communicating the importance of, hey, this is what is necessary for you to be the best that you possibly can be.
Right.
This is what is necessary for this to be a little bit better. Hey, we can dial this up. And then it so happened at the end, like I knew that Kyl's goal at some point was to turn pro, but we didn't necessarily talk about the opportunity of it happening this year, probably till the very end, to be honest. It was kind of like one of those, like, hey man, like this, you know,
it might happen.
You're setting yourself up exceptionally well here. Like when you get to the 4-week out range and you're like, you're at the top of your weight category, your condition's in the right spot, we're rolling now. This is the best possible version of you this year. It's a viable option. Tom's kind of happened like that, and Cam's happened like that too. So I would say no, there wasn't any pressure there. The only, I think sometimes the pressure is when the person is like a big talker about it, and they're like always going on about it all the time, because then
publicly online
themselves in the public, and it's not so much the pressure of me trying to get the result as much as the pressure of me trying to manage that person's expectations, which then affects the result, which is what we were just talking about before. Like I didn't have to manage Kyl the person, I only had to manage Kyl the athlete, which is super fucking easy.
Yeah.
But when I'm managing the person, that's when it becomes a lot more difficult, because there's other variables that we're trying to contend with to try and dial that look in.
Right. Right.
And the only other time I think that would become like more pressured is if there was a big name that hasn't done as good as they should have. I will see it as an opportunity to like find realized potential, which is something that I've spoken about before. I think I even spoke about it maybe on your pod, Kyle. But that would certainly be more pressure. That's for sure.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So you didn't coach Larry Wheels to his pro card on the weekend? Just gone?
What a gift. Man, how did that happen? Anyway.
Yeah.
We have some rapid fire questions for you. First thing that jumps to your mind, it's like a yes or no kind of pink or blue situation. You ready? There's 10 of them.
Good.
Scrunch or fold?
Oh, I'm a scruncher. Ask Gabby.
Really? That's so uncharacteristic of a
we're
person.
talking about toilet paper. We're not talking about clothes.
Oh, come on. All the above is scrunch. Everything is scrunch.
I did not expect that.
That surprises me as well. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Coke.
Yes. Team Coke. Suck it. Bottom or top?
Oh, come on.
Pineapple on pizza or no pineapple?
I like pineapple separately. I don't like pineapple on pizza.
Okay. All right. I'm judging you, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Shoes too big or too small?
Oh, definitely too big. I hate small shoes. Does my head in.
Noisy eater or heavy nose breather?
Man, gun to head, probably like
Their head or yours?
but noisy eater sucks. So I'm gonna have to say loud breather.
Yeah.
But that's constant.
Yeah, but they can't help it, man.
Anyways, okay, next.
Maybe it's got hairy nostrils.
Yeah.
Relaxing resort holiday or action-packed adventure holiday?
Oh, action-packed for sure.
$1 million or 1,000,000 years?
Ooh. That is hard. I would say maybe in the current headspace I'm in now, 1,000,000 years.
It's a lot of years, man.
That's too many.
I feel like 1,000,000. That question's maybe a little bit too heavily yeared.
This is too weird. That's too many years.
Like
honestly.
$1 million or 150 years.
Yeah, look, you can't take it back. Imagine when you're like,
Yeah, like
74,832 years old. You're like, why did I choose this? It's anyways, Dean, next to go.
vampire.
For nut butter, crunchy or smooth?
I was always smooth almond butter. And then we got here and I bought some, I don't even know what brand it is, Melrose or something at Sainsbury's, and it's crunchy almond butter. Well, I think I'm going to have to go crunchy.
Yeah, that's a classic. It depends. On a core, it's crunchy every day of the week. On a piece of toast, crunchy can fuck off because it just ruins the toast.
Okay. Shreds through it.
You can ask the last one.
Okay. A car. Why? Because are you embarrassed?
No, it's just
a car with a horn that sounds like a sexual male moan, or a car with a horn that sounds like a fart.
I think I'd probably go with the sexual moan just because it'd just be so much joy every day using it.
Everyone would think that he's doing a number. Everybody would think that he's doing a number on himself every time in the car.
Could you imagine tooting the horn? What the fuck was that?
Just sit at the traffic lights like.
I would just point at other people if people look at me like, yeah, it was him.
Yeah, he's just pumping the horn, looking like he's orgasming. Perfect.
That's so great. Kyle, if people want to check you out, where would they find you?
I'm prolific on all social media platforms. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And I've recently just changed all my handles, just in case anyone was wondering. It's kylraggio.ifbbpro, because you have to, right?
Hey, okay. Amazing.
But that's where I'm at. You can find me there.
Love it. We will see you on Friday in Poland. Oh my God.
Very excited.
And guys, if you're listening, the results would have been revealed by now. So you can check out Kyle's social media, perhaps Flex Success Stories, to find out the result. So give us a like, review, share, and we will see you in the next episode.
Peace.
There you guys.